In this episode, I wanted to chat about a few tips that I find useful, but they don't really fit into a larger episode. First, we'll chat about these SRE books. Second, I'll show you a few video hotkeys. And finally, a quick way to grep through your command history. Alright, so let's dive in. First, I wanted to recommend the Site Reliability Engineering books, or just the SRE books for short. These books offer great advice, along with useful patterns for sysadmins, DevOps, and operations folks. The first SRE book here, along with the workbook, are in my opinion some of the best books on the topic out today. They're also totally free and you can view them online. It used to be the case that you'd have to purchase these. Well, you still can, but they've opened them up and they're online too, which is an awesome resource to check out. You can view the table of contents here, and there's lots of stuff around setting infrastructure up, troubleshooting, logging, monitoring, being on call, etc. There are a couple really cool chapters that I wanted to call out though. These are all linked in the episode notes below as well. The first one is monitoring distributed systems, and this applies heavily to running containers in production too, as there's just so many moving parts. There's a pretty cool description of the 4 golden metrics that you likely want to track. They are latency, traffic, errors, and service saturation. I'd suggest reading through this on your own in detail, but my main takeaway is that monitoring these key metrics will help you spot potential problems before they happen. And it'll also greatly assist in after-the-fact troubleshooting, where you're trying to piece together what happened before some big outage. We'll also be deploying monitoring shortly in the audio-to-text transcription build project I'm working on. You can check out the base build project in episode 65 and episode 66, and we'll be covering monitoring shortly. It should be pretty cool. The second chapter that I wanted to call out is on troubleshooting. This chapter gives you a pretty good pattern to follow for troubleshooting problems. The chapter covers the theory, what logging you likely want to have in place beforehand, along with key metrics to keep an eye on. I kind of like this chapter because it also walks through an example case study. I find myself constantly checking out these books and recommending chapters to people when they ask me questions about a specific topic and they're looking for a good resource. So I can't recommend checking these out enough, especially since they're online and free. You can't really go too wrong. The next quick tip is that I want to let you know I've added video playback hotkeys to the website. If you check out my About page down at the bottom here, I've added a couple notes on the video playback hotkeys which are enabled. For example, you can use the arrow keys to seek forward and back on a video. You can actually try it out right now if you want. You can also use the number keys to jump ahead and back in the videos, which is pretty handy if you're looking to skip ahead. I just wanted to thank the subscriber who suggested this feature, as these types of things help improve the site for everyone. So if you have any suggestions on how I can improve things, please let me know, as they likely apply to a bunch of other people too. Alright, the final tip that I wanted to share is around using the command line. I often find myself wanting to rerun a command from weeks or months ago. Things like a command I used to maybe build a Docker container, or some for loop that I was using for something. I'll admit this isn't the prettiest thing, but I often use the history command, and then pipe the output to grep, and then use the -i option for case-insensitive grepping, and then type the keyword that I'm looking for, in this case Docker. Using this quick trick, you can get a command dump of what you were working on a long time ago. So you can see a bunch of Docker commands that I've run recently, but I'm doing this type of stuff all the time, and it goes back many months. I've also set my command history buffer to be huge, something like 1,000,000 commands, so it goes back many years. I think of this sort of like my extended memory, and that I'm free to forget commands that I've run, knowing that I can always look them up. So I thought you might find this handy too. By the way, you can also use the Control-R option too at the command line to search, but I find it quite limiting as it'll only show you a single result. And in almost all cases, I want to see more context. I want to see a bunch of commands around that window of where I was working on that. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Bye.